What's up, YouTube? Today I got a history for you, a history story. Welcome to another episode of KM Videos, True Stories.
That was it. I never stopped banging. I started banging hard, then I got so hard till it was a shame.
Welcome to another episode of KM Videos, True Stories.
Today's story takes place on the east side, Low Bottoms, Los Angeles. I'm not going to get all off into the backstory. I'm going to just get right into the history of BGM, 37th Street, Avalon Gangster Crips.
Trey 7. What's Trey 7?
Yeah, that when he was asking about C Note and all the other and
What's that mean? Enlighten me what Trey 7 mean.
That was we used to have another set called Trey 7 Avalon. That what was going on.
What did Trey 7? What Trey 7 mean?
37th Street Avalon Gangster Crips.
So in 1979, I met this dude named Moose Capone for 5 Trey Avalon. Me and Moose got close. I liked Moose's whole style, his whole get down. He was everything that the culture is. Yeah, cartoon tells a story about, he was nobody, got ran off the hood, what have you. I'm talking about when I met him and my experience with him, he was a down dude. He dressed the part, he played the part, stayed with a burner, stayed on enemy's bumper. He used the whole roller pigeon thing, the hitting up on the walls, all of that. I love his dress style, man. The khakis all the time, the Pendletons, the afro, the hairnets, the croaker sacks, the house shoes. His whole get down was all of that to me. Moose's real name was Bobby. He had a cousin named Magic from 5 Trey. And so when I meet him, he's just stomped down 5 Trey gangster. Always G'd up, always representing. I didn't know nothing else. At the time, I'm 10, 11 years old. I ain't in the trenches. I don't know, good from bad at the time. I just know this motherfucker was always G'd up. Always. Moose stopped banging 5 Trey around 1980. And he started a set called BGM, Baby G-Man. He doesn't take credit for starting it, but to me, everybody ran behind him. He was the leader, but he says it was a collective. They all came together and decided to start a set called Baby G-Man. These dudes handed out nicknames on Paloma between Jefferson and Santa Barbara in Angel's backyard. His name was Eric. They went in Eric's backyard. Eric had pigeons. They were by the pigeon cage. About 7, 8 of them. And they just started handing out nicknames. Now these dudes got a name from a set. And he still hung with a lot of his partners from 5 Trey.
I ain't seen the dude walk up to the park and say 37th Street Avalon ever.
But he didn't hang out there at the park no more. He was done with South Park. And his family had moved a couple times. He moved on 40th Street. And at the time, there was some 20 outlaws that used to be over there. And the 40s wasn't Crips yet. They was hustlers, 40 Ozone. And Moose tried to influence them to become Crips. It didn't work at the time. But there was Crips over there. You still had 4 Treys over there. You still had some 5 Treys over there, et cetera, et cetera. So he starts this set called BGM. And they wanted to attach a street to it. Paloma didn't sound good. Griffith didn't sound good. Jefferson didn't sound good. Santa Barbara didn't sound good. So they started with 35th Street. Moose is the reason for the 37th Street. He suggested 37th Street because 35th Street, the 3-5 was like 5 tray backwards. And he didn't want that 5 tray thing no more. He just didn't want to be a part of that. But he still embraced Avalon and his homies from 5 Tray. So it was just not just Crazy Ray, but several dudes, man. Several dudes that I still hear their name and, you know, their history from 5 Tray. A lot of them dudes, man, probably 11 or 12 of them dudes used to hang out with Moose and them. So they were official. They definitely had support, without question, throughout that low bottom east side. If you watch Cartoon's channel, Cartoon always talk about Crazy Ray. That was his road dog. Crazy Ray used to also hang out with the dude Moose Capone. And they had a conflict of interest with this little small set, 37th Street, BGM. So Crazy Ray told Moose, man, why don't y'all put the Avalon on it? Y'all might as well go on and be Avalon. So that's what they did. They became the East Side, 37th Street, Avalon Gangster Crips. Their territory initially was between Santa Barbara and Adams, between Central and Avalon. It was interrupted territory because the Outlaws was over there, and the Outlaws wasn't no joke. And the Outlaws spread out throughout that area. You had a few other sets within that area as well. You had one set that kind of carved out a spot in the 20 Outlaws called the 25th Street Gangster Crips, and the Deuce Sevens on 27th Street. The Deuce Sevens wanted to have an alliance with the 3 Sevens, the Trey Sevens and the Deuce Sevens. There were no 30 Pyrus at the time. Wasn't no 30 Pyrus. I do remember this family of outlaws on 32nd Street, the Twymans. I don't remember the year, but the Twymans were over there, I would think, during this time. And so it wasn't just no, you know what I'm saying, like they just had that whole hood to themselves. But they were known over there, and they were on the walls. You would see them on the walls, and you would see different Crips walking. You know what I'm saying? I told a story when I seen Moose walking through the alley with a 4-5, G'd up. There was other homies over there G'd up that I had became friends with. Angel, Sino, Moose, Lil Man, Tattoo, Danny Dog, and a lot of other dudes. I won't say their name because of the sets that they from now. I'm going to just let it be. It's on them if they want to admit to being part of BGM or 37th Street. They were not that deep, but it was, I guess the roll call, it might have been 15 of them maybe. I might be wrong, give or take, but probably on the roll call, I could tell you about 15 of them that I met. And they started up around 1980, and they lasted until 81. In January 1981, 37th Street officially became part of the Avalon Gangster Crips. A handful of outlaws over there had retired and stopped banging. And so some of them dudes, they were on the fence at becoming outlaws. But when Moose came through and Moose started meeting dudes and recruiting dudes and, you know, meeting dudes through raising pigeons and doing little burglaries and stuff like that, he picked up a little steam in that area, particularly right off of Santa Barbara Avenue between Jefferson, between Central and Griffith. And then he had some dudes over there that was claiming like 25th or 27th. That was down with 37th Street Avalon. So Moose didn't live over there though, I don't think. He may have moved over there, I'm not sure. But I know he lived on 40th Street They were starting to establish themselves in the 1980s before he caught his case. Because in 81, Moose ended up getting locked up. 1981, I was still in contact with Moose. I used to write Moose when he was in Preston. I would send him pictures, he would send me pictures for about 2 or 3 years. I know my brother had moved away from there in 83, but now I'm coming over there in 83. Summer of 83 and the summer of 84, where I went to Dorsey High School in 83 for summer, and I went to Crenshaw High summer 84. So I'm always catching the bus. I'm always walking through the alleys. I'm reading all the hit-ups. And now I'm running across 30 Pyrus. There were no 30 Pyrus when Moose was walking around there. You know, that was in Newton Division. Newton was right there in their hood, in that set, right there on Central. Pretty good until Moose. When Moose left, everything just crumbled. Everybody went their own separate way. Dudes became from 60s, 4-tray, 5-tray, out 30, 20 outlaws, etc. So that whole area and that whole 37th Street just disappeared. They didn't last long, man. They might have lasted 2 years. Maybe 1 to 2 years. I remember running across dudes that had been locked up, and I would ask them about Moose Capone, or I would ask them about 37th Street or BGM, and they would always say, "Oh man, it was a few BGM over there, but Moose was the only nigga from 37th Street." Some people would say it wasn't but 2 people from 37th Street. So I don't know if them is jokes or them the only people they ran across, but I would always ask what happened to Moose. A lot of dudes told me he was dead. Some people told me he moved to the IE. I didn't know if that was true or not, but I had always wondered what happened to Moose and what happened to some of those other dudes. I would later see a couple of them, Sea-Dog, Tattoo. Always remained in touch with Angel and Sino. Sino got life in prison for shooting at a Newton police officer, or allegedly shooting at a Newton police officer. So dudes just went their own way, man. Everybody went to their own set. And that pretty much was the end of the East Side 37th Street Avalon Gangster Crips. You can only get that history right here on KM Video live streams. Maybe one day I'll get an actual official interview and put it on the Blue Channel. You know, from what I know, there will be a book published about this at some point, possibly. And you'll look back and you'll remember, damn, Kev Mac told us about this. And you'll get a more in-depth history from a dude that was over there, or several dudes that occupied that area at the time. I'm out of here, man. Y'all click that like button. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I tell all sorts of stories here. I'm out of here. Have a good one.